What have these this last week been like for you? Obviously, you have a daughter now, and then you find out that you're going to be playing basketball in November.
Well, I was pretty optimistic. I thought we were going to be able to play. But yeah, it's like a lot has changed in a week for sure. But I'm just so excited that we're actually going to be able to play. We have a date. Sorry if you hear the background, that's Mateo. um, but just excited that we have like a definitive date. We know we're playing, not just like, oh, we think we're going to play. And it's just, I think it's mentally for the players, it's important. I mean, we're motivated. We're working hard in practice. I haven't been there in like 2 days, or a few days, but they're, I'm watching practice. They're excited, motivated. But the problem is right now we just don't have a lot of answers. It's like we had a Pac-12 call this morning at 7, and we know we still have to vote on the amount of conference games. So before, remember, we were at 18. So we'll probably vote on this for sure because we're going to see some models by Tuesday. But do we go to 20 conference games or do we go to 22? Like how? So we still don't know, which is hard, how many non-conference games to get. And then the other things that we don't know is the NCAA should come out today with like the overall testing protocol. But we don't know if the teams we're going to play like fit that protocol. So there's so much to like, I can't even schedule yet non-conference because I don't know if like a mid-major school is going to have the capability of testing. So there's like so much, there's so much in the air. But the main thing is we're playing. So, and then I think that in January, there's going to be a look-in for fans again. And I'm hoping that, if things start to trend down or if there's a vaccine by then, I'm hoping in Pac-12 we'll have fans. Because for us, it's a huge disadvantage to not have fans. Just because
Yeah, Adia, how can you prepare your team for that? I mean, can you prepare your team to play in empty gymnasiums? Is that something you'll try to do, or do you just, say that part is going to be what it's going to be? You just have to go out there and play.
It's going to be what it's going to be. What high school you're like. No, I'm just kidding. But like, unless you're a really big high school, you probably get like, I don't know, 100 people. But I think, so what I don't know is, are we just going to play with our families? Because then there'll probably be, let's say, a few hundred people. But it is totally different. I mean, we're talking last year getting 6,000 a game. But I think the players are so hungry and they miss basketball so much. I think if you told them we wouldn't have a fan, I don't think they would care. I think they just want to play. I think it's just getting back on the court. Our team's looking good and just like the competition. But like from a coach's standpoint, I have to then evaluate, well, what teams do I want to play in front of no fans? Do I want to push the game back? Because we had like 5 ranked opponents in the non-conference. So do I want to push the game back till we have fans the following year? Like there's just a lot of those decisions for me, like program-wise.
Go ahead, Justin.
Coach, did you have Mateo when you were at Washington?
Yeah, I did.
So
I was the assistant coach at Washington.
So, I mean, obviously different circumstances now being a head coach and overseeing an entire program. And then now during all of this, what's it been like for you?
Well, the difference is, it's funny. When you're an assistant, you can be like, I'm on maternity leave, don't call me. When you're a head coach, you can't really get them. I mean, you get a maternity leave, but like, there's still some calls. There's still some calls and decisions I have to make. So, and then like you don't know what it's like to have 2 because I've never had 2, but now I know. But I think that there's just stuff like I wasn't gonna miss the Pac-12 call this morning at 7. Like I'm not. I still like the program still goes on. I can't say, oh, look, wait a month, let me do scheduling in a month. It doesn't work like that. So I think that's the more challenging part. But these are, to me, in my opinion, they're good problems to have if I have to decide on non-conference that we're playing. So I'm more happy about that, and I'll figure out how to juggle it. But yeah, I'll take like 2 more weeks off. So I'll take a couple weeks off. But yeah, like a regular probably woman gets like 12 weeks to 16 weeks, right? That ain't happening as a coach. So you do it, but that's what I signed up for, right? But it's good.
Adia, in terms of just recruiting and where your team is and the obstacles through this entire last 6 months, how do you feel about the program where you're at, considering where you left off at the end of March?
Hey, Saul, good to see you. No, well, so the crazy thing is, if I look back to March, I would have never thought in a billion years that we would be masking and dealing with the stuff we're dealing today. I didn't even think that would even be a possibility. I thought maybe a month. Like, so the reality's been just incredible. Did I ever think we'd start with no fans? No, I thought like, oh, we'll have fans with distance. I just thought we'd be in a really different place now. For me, from a program standpoint, we're a good team. And we've added some pieces. So I'm so excited because our workouts right before I took the maternity leave, like our workouts are good, like another level of intensity. So we've raised our level. So like I wanted to play. That was the most important thing. And the players haven't played in so long. I mean, we're talking some kids in the off season did not touch a ball for like 6 months. And some you really see, depending on their circumstances, depending on where they live, like some were locked in an apartment, like in Turkey, for months you couldn't even leave your apartment. Like your parents could leave to go to the grocery store. So everybody had different circumstances. So I thought initially that we'd be way more behind. I think our conditioning was like, everybody was kind of dying at first, but they're just, they're hungry. So I think it's going to be an advantage to us. Now, you know, it's like, obviously it's unfortunate circumstances, but I think the Pac-12, Dave Hickey has done an amazing job. Derek Vandermeer has done an amazing job. And I think just the stuff we're putting in place and the aggressive stance we took early, now you see the whole country's doing this stuff. So I think that we're in a good place just at our school. Like women's basketball, we haven't had any cases. So my players want to play. So they're doing what they need to do. You know, men's basketball has done great. We're all supporting each other. So we just, like, our kids want to play. So they're not out going to frat parties. Because, you know, thankfully, like, you know, it's just, but, you know, a lot of that's recruiting because 4 years ago, we may have been at the frat parties, but like, it's just, it's kind of where our program's evolved and, you know, we want to play, we want to win and we want a season. That's the most important thing, but there's going to be some big time challenges this year. I mean, travel, like we can't be like NBA and WNBA in the bubble. So like the challenges that I see right away, like, what about after Christmas? You let the kids go home. You got to file the state. Like, there's just going to be a lot of obstacles this year.
I know you just kind of touched on it a little bit about the bubble. Are there potential opportunities for like a non-conference bubble tournament or anything like that?
Well, that's the stuff we don't know. So we're talking about that stuff now, but we don't know. Like, we could be possibly trying to mirror the men's schedule and travel with them. That's one option. So there's so many options. So for us, we can't schedule a non-conference. We don't know if those teams can play and test, because if they don't adhere to, if they don't have our same protocol, we can't play them. And so for me, from a personal standpoint, for my team, I'm going to try to do as many home games as I can. But then, you know, we have a disadvantage on the West Coast. We don't have like 10 teams within 2 hours. So it's a huge disadvantage for the Pac-12. And we were all talking about that. And then, like, do we want to go to 22 games? That's a gauntlet. Like, that's tough for our conference. So I think all those things we don't know, and those decisions aren't made yet. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that, because that affects how I schedule non-conference. If we're going to 22, I'm probably more for the 20 games. I'm like in between 20 22 to have more information. But the 20 games, trying to mirror the men, play on the same weekend, travel. Then we're chartering. It's just all those things. It's just the safest situation for the players.
You know, Adia, you mentioned the whole thing with Turkey, and obviously you had two players from there, and Darren and Savlaw. How did they explain that? I mean, obviously we had a little bit more leeway here. I mean, yeah, we were in lockdown, but you could still maybe go to the park if you wanted to be by yourself and that kind of thing, where they couldn't even leave their apartment. How did they explain how that worked?
Well, they did a lot of stuff in the house. That's just how it is. I think we're the only country where lockdown's not a lockdown, because even in Italy, like, our lockdown's like, no, I have rights, I go out on jogs, but it's just different. But that's why we still have a problem today, because like even in Italy, where Salvo's family's from, if it's on lockdown and you go to the beach, you get like a 2,000 euro fine. So if you started fining Americans leaving their house, there'd be a lot more people at home, I think. But I think it's just so different in America, because everybody else, lockdown is lockdown. But I think there was just you don't say anything about it, like, especially in Turkey. You're not going to tweet about it or something, because you may go to jail. So it's totally different, you know? But like Italy, like an example in Italy was Salvo's father he flew to Malta, which is, you know, a little country right off the coast of Italy and Africa. So flew there, got a text message that someone on the plane tested positive. So the text message said you must quarantine for 14 days. So at that point, if you're caught outside, you're getting fined up to 2,000 euros. So that's like, you got that off a cell phone. Like, we don't have those kind of strict guidelines here. But then we still have a huge problem that other countries don't. So
We know a lot about Lauren. What are you seeing from your other freshmen?
well, Lauren's been doing awesome. Like, I think the way everything worked out this year is perfect for us from a selfish standpoint. Our other freshman, Darren's been amazing. Darren is someone who has so much talent. She's got power. She's not the typical European player, like that's considered a little bit more probably soft face up. She's got power. She shoots it well. I think Ari's done a really good job of kind of taking Darren under her wing. So Darren's a couple years away, but I think she has a chance to be really good. And then Marta's like learning things. There's a language barrier, so that's always a little harder. And Tara, she was basically here half the year, so she doesn't feel like she's all that new, just being a sophomore. But she's been here 6 more months. But everybody else is doing pretty good. Excited.
Is it easier for Shabab this year to have someone else from Turkey?
It is easier. You can see she came out of her shell a lot. It's also easier for Helena. So you can see when they have their buddy, they're a lot more comfortable. They're just with everything. Because I think they have someone to hang out with every day and then speak their language at home. So you can see they're both a lot happier. So, and it's good also. You remember, Shayna sat out last year. It's good to have Shayna back in the mix. She's really motivated. The Olympics got canceled. So she's motivated to play well. And they're excited. So I think that it's been great seeing the chemistry between her and Ari. And then another person that's just been really great for us, it's always Solid Sam. But she came back stronger. She came back in really good shape. So pretty much our whole team came back better than how they left, which I was surprised about. I thought that it would be different and worse, So.
Your program.
Yeah, how much?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, how much of Lauren's decision to play for you guys came down to you can't pass up an opportunity to play with a guard like Ari McDonald? You only maybe get that potentially, you don't know what the future holds, so you may only get that once in a lifetime opportunity to play with a guard like that.
Yeah, I don't think that was a factor. I think it was just honestly, I think it was the way volleyball, not knowing if they'll play in the spring, not knowing what the situation is with volleyball, and then also looking for the future, knowing that this would be the only year she played basketball, the only year she's going to be there for the full season. Every other year after that is just she's going to miss all of our non-conference and just be here for conference. So I think it was more of those factors, and more that we're going to have a full schedule, not knowing what volleyball is going to do. So I think those were the things, at least that was shared with me. But I think also when you're looking at we have a chance to be really, really good. She can learn a lot. And I'm telling you, Lauren has a very good opportunity to be an impact player. She's skilled. She can shoot the three. She's never really learned a lot of basic fundamentals because she's just tall and has a really good touch and really good shot. But she's learning footwork and she picks stuff up fast. And I think it's because she's a really good volleyball player. So she's got good hands and feet. So I think that if she were to stick with just basketball, I think she'd have a chance to be an All-American, an All-Conference.
How has your program's ability to recruit changed in the last year or two? You guys have been listed in some of really elite players have had your program in their top 10, top 12 recently.
Yeah, and we just kind of didn't get a couple kids that I thought. So honestly, from just getting better, winning more games has obviously led to getting on those lists and better recruits. The other thing that really helped us is people look from the outside in, and we have 10,000 people at a rival game. All those things are huge. And the kids want to play in front of, the players want to play in front of thousands of people. So this year kind of hurts us with that. But where it's hurt us big time, because of where Arizona is, and there's so much talent on the East Coast, there's younger talent on the West Coast, but that's just not the bulk of, and that's usually where we recruit our geographical footprint. But there's so much talent East, it's really hurt us, the pandemic, because now the dead periods until January, half of those kids that we recruited, we were in on some big time good kids in Georgia and the South, but they've never been to Arizona, the state of Arizona. Some have never been to California. So to ask them to choose a college when they've never been here, it's not really happening. So I think we would have had a couple more really, really good players if that wouldn't have been the case. And like the fortunate thing is a player like Trinity. Trinity is going to be a very, very good player in our program. She's going to help us win a lot more games. She is a more, mature. She's a fifth year, so she's more like laser focused, wants to go play pro, knows what she wants. But still, we had a very slim chance of getting her from Florida. Like she was looking at all Florida schools, wanted to go close to home. So she kind of stepped out. But for a freshman to do that, or underclassmen at 2021, very hard when they've never been to your state. They have no idea what Arizona's like, besides like on the internet. So that's been something that's hindered us. But I think all the schools, because those kids want to stay closer to home because of what's going on.
There's been speculation that all this dead time is going to eventually lead to a lot of transfers. Do you see that as a possibility? And
yes, no, like absolutely yes. The reason why is because in this during this pandemic, you've seen probably 20 top kids from like 2020, 2021. They all moved their timelines, and they moved their timelines for a couple reasons, because there was tons of transfers in the portal. So now they're competing with transfers for spots, and they're making rush decisions because of that. So I think in a couple of years, you are going to see a huge uptick in transfers because of making decisions fast or being pressured into some decisions because of COVID. So like, no doubt. Or they chose a school they've never seen. So like someone coming here from the South, we're different than Georgia. And then you come to Arizona and you hate it, or you go to California, like, oh, I hate the traffic, I hate the sunshine every day. But you know what I mean? It's like, I think there will be more transfers for sure. And you guys got to think about, if you don't take a visit, how do you know your teammates? So they're kids also that, like, on visits, you get to know your teammates, and then you make connections and you share numbers and you talk, or you take a visit with other freshmen. So these kids have chosen schools. They don't know the team. They've never been to the place. They've never been to the city or school. It's, I think there's a lot of challenges there. So to answer him, absolutely, yes, I agree.
How has Bendu looked so far? And have you gotten any update on if she's eligible to play this year?
Yeah, we don't know yet. She's waiting. She did get her year back, her redshirt year back, which is good. So we know we'll have her for 2 years. But I think the other possibility of playing right away, I think that's probably a couple months down the line, or at least a month, because I think that it's so backlogged and understaffed and stuff right now. She looks good. She's like, right now she wouldn't be ready to play. Excuse me. But would she be ready by a Thanksgiving time? She would be, because she's like months behind in her rehab because of the pandemic and changing and going back to Portland. So I'm sorry. So I think that she could be ready, but we're just kind of waiting to see. So either way, for us, it's a good situation. If she's not eligible to play, then she just works. We get her used to the system. We work her out, improve her for a year, make sure she's 100%. And if she does, it gives us another dynamic guard in the backcourt that's a freak athlete, a good defender, and fits our system. So I'm happy either way. I'm really happy that we have her for 2 years.
Do you still have the stance, though, that even if maybe she's eligible to play this year, that maybe she could still redshirt?
Yes, because we'd have to evaluate how her ankle really is doing, her Achilles. So like, let's say she got the approval to play right now, and we start ramping it up and she's got to take a step back, then it's not worth using her year. It's better then we work on some, some of the areas. We do a good job of skill development, and then also get into our system, because we haven't we just started our 12 hours. So we haven't started like implementing really our defensive system or offense. We've kind of just been doing fundamentals and trying to work the girls into shape without killing them right away, because, we don't know where people have done much. I mean, so the conditioning has been like, ooh, we're like, wow, we're in the red and ball handling. So got to take it easy.
What kind of role would you see Darren having this year? You said she looks really good.
Yeah, she looks really good. I think one of the things that's separating her is her work ethic and her attitude. And she has personality. So I think that, is she like in the shape she needs to be yet? No. Does she know our system? No. But she's working so hard. She's talking a lot for a freshman. It's usually you have to kind of extract that out of freshmen. She kind of does that naturally, and she's not afraid. So when you put those things together, It's a really good combination that you can't teach. It's what she has, and she's really motivated. So I think that for her, her role would be she's learning as much as she can from Ari. And what I like to see is, like, for example, she's teaming up with Ari. She's going the partner, and I like that because it's showing me she's trying to learn everything she can from Ari. And Ari's been great with her, so I like that, and I notice those things. So I think that for her, playing the one or the two, and handling it, but then going against Ari every day, maybe she'll get her butt kicked every day in practice, and I love that. But then next year, it's where it'll pay dividends. Because if you can, like, even sometimes contain Ari 50% of the time, she's faster than any other guard in the Pac-12. So then you're doing okay. And I'm telling you, Shayna and Ari really benefited from that last year.
Is there someone who sort of, I know you're doing drills now and you're working on fundamentals, but is there someone who's come back who you've been surprised at how they've grown over the off season?
I mean, Ari has grown a lot since last year. She came back with a new sense of urgency, enthusiasm, ready, just the motivation and grasp, everything, the whole package. She's been way more vocal, more of a leader. Helena came back looking very good. Came back strong. Like, we see that in the weight room, we see that in the court. Came back really confident. Cheval has really worked in the offseason, which is impressive because of, like, being on lockdown in Turkey for months. So that's telling me she was doing what she can inside. And Sam came back stronger. Kate looks really good. So pretty much everybody, and that was a concern of mine. There's a couple people that don't look like they've done a whole lot, maybe a step behind, but I'm pretty positive we can get them back. But overall, as a team, the team overall, people left, they look better than how they left. So, which is good. Which I thought, I was at first like, wee, so.
What is your optimism level for possibly having fans in small capacity next season? So not next season, but next year, the second half of the season.
I'm optimistic about it. I just don't know, like, if it's staying the way that I saw today 300,000 deaths. If it's like, I think for me the hard thing is I don't know, like, if our testing is accurate now. I'm not saying in Pac-12. I'm saying, like, in the country, like, is it accurate? So I don't really know. Like, if there's a vaccine at that point, is everybody accessible to it? That's the kind of stuff I have no idea. If it's political and there's a vaccine right after the election, that'd be awesome. Because then I think we'll have fans for sure in January. So I think it's going to depend on, because even if we had 5,000 fans spread out, I think that's awesome just for the environment. For us, it's a huge advantage here. But I just don't know, like, what that looks like. Are athletes going to get the vaccine first? I don't know. But I am pretty optimistic because I think one's going to come, even if it comes like November, December. But like, I think this year as a school, like, I think we have to be more aggressive, like flu shots, because everything's going to be treated like COVID. So it's like, I mean, the flu shots are going to be really important for travel, just all those little things. Because, but if Dave wouldn't have really fought and been a part of all the Pac-12 stuff, and the relationship with the Pac-12 and Goodell or whatever, we wouldn't have been able to play because the testing was taking so long to turn around. It's like we wouldn't be able to play like that. So I'm just happy that daily is huge because then we can stop stuff right when it happens, and then before they do all the tracing and isolate tons of people. So it's without that we would not be able to play basketball. So yeah. So I'm optimistic. Knock on wood. We'll see. From your guys' standpoints, don't you guys feel like we would probably have fans at that point? Or you guys think no? You guys think no?
I think
he said today that even in the new year, there's still a possibility that there won't be any fans.
Yeah, but I think it's going to depend on the nation stuff. True. So, like, is it like down 50% or have the vaccine started? So I think it's all those things. If that happens, I think we'd have fans. But if that doesn't happen, like, no way, because of safety of the athletes. Like, and if honestly, for me, I wouldn't want to play in November with 5,000 fans right now. Like, I just don't think it's safe. I think we would never play because people get sick all the time, I think. So
well, and don't you think also that the women's basketball, the fan base is a little bit older, I think. So I think there's a little bit extra concern for some of those fans to be able to feel comfortable coming back.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. So that would hurt us off the bat anyways, because it wouldn't be safe right now, basically. Yeah, I agree. So I'm hoping like just we get, the vaccination and start that, and I hope the numbers start to go down. I don't know. I like when you look on campuses and stuff, that's what worries me because we're different. We're different because we have the capability of testing every day, but when you look at campuses and what's going on and like, dorms and stuff, that's a little scary. So I'm just glad we're kind of handling our bubble well because I think it's really important for, women's basketball, men's basketball, football, for us to sustain the department, we need to play. And I think that if we can play safely, this is a safe way to do it. I think it's important.
Do you have players, Adia, that are living in the general population, and what are they telling you about how that works for them?
Honestly, I'm glad we don't have anybody in dorms because dorms have been a challenge. So we don't have anybody in dorms. We have them in safe places, so we haven't had any problems. So
there's a message right there, isn't it?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Is that normal? Would you normally, in particularly for your incoming freshmen, would you normally have them not in a dorm situation, or is that specific to this year?
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry.
Your incoming freshmen, would they normally have lived in the general dorm population, or did you opt not to even do that because of the COVID situation?
No, so for me, it wasn't because of COVID at all. I don't make our freshmen stay in dorms because I don't really love dorms that much. I don't think it's great to share a room and a bathroom with 4 people. I just never liked that as a student athlete. So we choose like 5 different situations. So one is like across the street from RJ, and like some of the men's basketball players live there too. So we kind of rotate the apartment. If someone wants to move out, we move someone else in. And so it's been just a more success for us. Everybody has their own bathroom, the bedroom, the lock to the bedroom. It's just better. And we've had success for that. So we give like 4 places. They choose their roommates. It's just been more just.
Hey, Coach, I got one final question for you. Obviously, besides COVID, there's been a lot of racial strife in the country. What kind of conversations have you had with some of your players in terms of, how they're feeling and how they're emotionally dealing with everything, and including yourself?
Yeah, so it's just been a stress, I think, for a lot of student athletes. So there was some statistic that came out. It's like the mental health, like of the African American student athletes went up it's like 140% or something significant. So there's just a lot of different social just issues right now. And I think that my support and platform for the team is, okay, so what are we going to do to make changes? So be a voice, like, mentor a young woman, or let's develop a program. Sam is a SAC president. So Sam, be a voice, but let your team create things that athletes need to support each other. I think more from that standpoint, it's more of a positive way to make a change versus just posting stuff on social media. Like, that's my thing. So you can post all this stuff, but like, are we going to do something to be proactive? Or are you going to go mentor someone and bring someone along? Or I talked to our team about community service. Like, what can we do to impact the areas you want to impact? And I think that's been just the response I have. So our team's creating different things. So I think that's cool. And whether it's, do you want to be the one that's spearheading the voting? Like, do you want to take accountability in that? I think that is more powerful to make change than what nowadays this generation, you just post all this stuff and you're angry. But no, do something where you can be a difference maker. And I think for me, it's just, for me personally, it's just opened up my eyes to a lot of things I was really oblivious to, because it's just hasn't been my world, which is sad to say. I think growing up as an athlete, like, I'm multiracial, you guys know, but it's like growing up as an athlete, there's so much stuff you don't see as an athlete because you're an athlete. And then I was like a pro player. So I wasn't ever in like a general population, like going to school and stuff. So I think my vision is skewed in that sense. And then it's like, I'm a woman, so like, I'm driving my car, I'm not scared of getting pulled over. I'm more like, I'm scared, like, I'm gonna have a $500 ticket. So it's just a different thing because of my environment and stuff. So I think I just didn't know a lot. Like I didn't know there was a lot of issues today that were so relevant. Like I knew I saw stuff on social media. I knew everybody's recording stuff. I didn't know like stuff happens every week in some towns or because it's not. It's I'm from San Diego. Like I don't live in the South or something. So I just it's opened up my eyes to a lot. But I think that the young athletes, there's a time for a voice. So instead of complaining about like if you don't like the president or you do, like do something to make a change. So go vote. Like put your like make a program. Be a trendsetter, be a difference maker, and impact. And for me, I feel like I can do that every day. So I have a platform, I have a voice. So I empower these young women to be their best and to be different. And I think that's my way of giving back and helping them be better. And like, what are you going to do to change things? What are you going to do to break a cycle? What are you going to do to not deal with these things? Like that's more my view on all that stuff. So, but it's very complex for sure.
What's the status of the Texas and Gonzaga games? I know that it's probably one of those unknown things.
Yeah, it's unknown. It's the challenging part for us is so right when we were told we don't play till January, what did we do? We sent an email out to all our non-conference opponents. So I think Gonzaga is still interested. So depending on, it just depends because we also don't want to go from like start conference and playing like 5 ranked teams right there and then going into a 22 game or a 20 game gauntlet of the Pac-12. So I think being strategic about that, which I'll know more next week, because if I know how many conference games, that's going to determine, and then I'm going to try to stay home more. So we still have guaranteed games. So there's also contracts we've signed. Like, we pay from anywhere 25, 30,000 for guaranteed games. So like, I think all those things, and we just don't know how to prepare for that as a coach when we don't know how many non-conference games yet, and we don't know who's going to fit the protocol. So it's kind of like I can't even do anything until I know those things next week. But I'm still very interested in Gonzaga. I'm still very interested in Texas, but now I don't know. Our game is in November, so I don't know if Texas is going to come here, or I don't know if Arkansas is going to be able to travel to California. But I'm still interested in some of those things. But I'm not going to take our team to like a tournament that doesn't have a bubble-like thing and risk getting sick.
So are teams like NAU and GCU and maybe the New Mexico teams and maybe the Southern California teams or schools in that area, are you saying that those are way more in play than other teams that are obviously across the country?
Well, yeah, for sure. Like I wouldn't go to Florida right now because I'm not taking my team across the country. I'm just not. But let's say we stay in this Vegas tournament, we could drive to Vegas. To limit the risk, so I'd still be interested in some of those. But I don't know, just as a coach, I don't know, is Riverside going to have the same protocol? Because if they don't, we can't play them. So those are the things I think that are hard because a lot of the mid-major schools, they don't even know, they don't have a testing capability and they don't know, and they don't have funding for that. So then we can't play them. So that's kind of because there's going to be the NCAA standards and there's going to be the Pac-12. So I have no idea, like, does New Mexico fall in there or not? But it has been a challenge us playing regional teams. It's been a challenge. Maybe it'll put more pressure to people to have to stay regional now, but I don't know. So we can't really do anything with the non-conference then. So it's going to be, all the Pac-12 schools are going to be scrambling. Well, everybody in the country, because, we just don't have answers yet. But I'm hoping today we'll know the because you at least have to follow NCAA standards. But I don't know if that's going to be different from the Pac-12.
The standard actually came out before we got on this call.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and they want people that as the season starts, test like 3 times a week, and if somebody has a positive, they of course they have to quarantine for 14 days. But it sounds like the entire team has to quarantine for 14 days.
Well, yeah. So I don't know, but I don't know, is the Pac-12 standard going to be different? That's the thing. Like, so yeah. If they are, we can't play a lot of those teams. And there's just challenges because also there's going to be different state level, like CDC standards. So if they go home, it's like, let's say all the players go home for Christmas and come back in Arizona, you have to quarantine, let's say 21 days. We have to follow that because the Pac-12 doesn't they don't have anything to do with our local stuff. So that's going to be, I don't know how that's going to work for Christmas break and stuff. I have no idea.
What has it been like to have, everything canceled, then an about face, we're going to do this, just back and forth. And what's it been like for you? I mean, from outside, it's really kind of odd.
Well, yeah, I think the challenging part is like not knowing how to start with the schedule. So not first of all, not thinking we're going to play a non-conference, and then like we have to reach out to everybody because there's contracts, there's all kinds of stuff, and then now having to go back, but now like the November games are gone. So where do you start? Like to have people fill. I don't know if people have filled our spots yet. So I think it's hard. It's hard, but the main thing is we're playing. So then I'm not mad because we're actually playing. And this is a better problem to have than not playing at all. But it is a challenge for all of us. And then like for the Pac-12, it's a lot harder to get to Tucson than it is to LA, or it's a lot harder to get to Eugene or Corvallis. So like, do teams want to travel there? So I think for the Pac-12, it's more of a challenge because just geographically, like if you're at Ohio State or something, you got 10 schools within a couple hours. So I think it's going to be more of a challenge for us. And I think that's why a lot of the Pac-12 schools are in favor of playing more conference games, because it's less of a challenge to get, you get less games. Getting 3 or 4 games is different than getting 7. So
I think I was talking to Mike Neighbors earlier this week, and he was telling me that he was having trouble scheduling too. So maybe now that you guys have decided to play and when you're going to play, and next week you'll know how many games of each that you can schedule, maybe across the board, it makes it easier for everyone across the country to really schedule these non-conference games.
Well, yeah, and we're all going to try to stay regional. So like I don't want to go across the country. Like people were going to the Bahamas and different countries, and I don't want to go all the way to Florida or something. So I would try to stay regional and try to drive if we can. So I don't know if that means there's Arkansas, we're playing a tournament with them at LMU, but we don't know what LMU's protocol is yet. And I don't know if Arkansas can fly all the way to California. So, but we can drive there. So for us, it's like it's probably safer to drive our team 6 hours at this point and then travel in November.
You mentioned earlier that maybe I had this confused, but are you guys going to be traveling with the men this season?
No, so there's different models being like proposed. That's not set yet, but one of the things is possibly mirroring the men. So they have 20 games. So there's a talk about like going to one location that everybody plays. So then like the teams like ASU would travel with the men, we travel with our men. That's a possibility, but that's not decided on yet. So if we went to 22 games, it's harder to mirror. So if we went to the same games, it's a little bit easier. So we're getting a model next week of both to look at that. And then we have to decide on that. But from a selfish standpoint, from a women's program, we don't charter every trip. So the advantage of going with the men or partnering up, we would charter those, which is something safer. Because during the pandemic, I can't go ask for $68,000 for every trip because I'll get fired if I ask that. I'll get fired before I can even complete the sentence. But it's a lot of money, so that's the advantage, and it's safer because there's going to be a whole different set of issues traveling commercial, and it's not the flights, it's the whole process. It's security, it's sitting in the airport, so that's a whole nother thing.
Well, in many ways, though, that sounds like a money-saving operation for everybody. I mean, you just need one plane. Everybody fits on one plane. You don't have to make separate travel arrangements. It's safer. It's more economical. How would the game times change, though? How would that work? Somebody's playing in the afternoon. Somebody's playing in the evening.
Yeah, I think it would just be at night. It's hard to schedule, but I think that what I was told for us, it's not as much of a concern for like the ESPN, the TV. So we can play like on a Thursday at 2:00. Like, and the men would get more of the times for TV, right? Because like from my standpoint, I want Sean to get as many TV games as he can because it's making our school money. So if that meant we only have a couple and we're playing at 1:00 on Tuesday and they're getting prime time and making money for the program, I'm all for it. I'm all in support because I see our department's losing millions of dollars, and we want to keep as many sports, and we want our school to be able to sustain. So I'm all for football and men's basketball being on prime times, and I think that the times don't matter as much if we're not doing TV as much. But it's gonna be a challenge, I think. So I'm curious to see. That's why we need to know what model, so we can start trying to finish our schedules. But everybody's in the same boat, which is good. So we're all gonna be scrambling all around the country, in the next month. So
Anything else for Coach?
cool, thanks. And hopefully next week we'll have more answers about knowing what our conference will be and all those things. So, yeah.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Have a great weekend.
Stay
Thanks,
safe.
Coach.
Care.
Thank you, Adam.
All right, take care.
See you guys.
Bye.